After this week's episode, we now have seen 6 rings of hell in Helluva Boss, leaving only one ring left, Envy, to be explored. But thanks to background details in the show, we actually have a pretty good idea of what's going on there. My name is Deepcut, hit that subscribe button, and here's everything we know about the Envy ring so far. Envy is the 6th ring of hell, with only the Sloth ring below it, which we saw in the most recent episode. In addition to that Sloth ring lore, which I put out a video for yesterday, click up here to watch it, we also got a lot of new information on Envy from Blitz's interaction with the demon Karen seen in the hospital waiting room. Additionally, information about the Sloth ring helps us fill in the blanks for certain details in the Envy ring being between Lust and Sloth. The Envy ring is ruled by Leviathan according to the Binsfield classification of demons. Leviathan is known famously as the biblical sea monster that would have destroyed the earth if God had not slain its mate. Because of this, Leviathan in the show is believed to take on a sea monster theme. This seems even more likely when you consider all of the deep sea demons in the background of the show, even before this Karen mom was introduced. Now, water exists in various places in Hell, but there seems to be a lot less of it up in the Pride Ring and Wrath Ring, perhaps explaining the desert-like atmosphere in Wrath. In episode 3 of season 1, Blitz says the nearest ocean from their home in the Pride Ring was 3 rings down, which would be the Greed Ring. In addition to the deep sea demons we see in the show, we've also seen quite a bit of the loan shark demons, who appear to be from the ocean Blitz is talking about in the Greed Ring, with there still being lots of land for them to exist on as well. Below the Greed Ring is the Lust Ring, where it appears to always be raining. Something I've theorized for a while now is actually just the water from the Greed Ring leaking down into Lust. Yet another ring below that would be Envy, which many fans theorize to be 100% ocean, with it being ruled by Leviathan. Like with the rings above it, I think Envy would continue to leak some of its water into the ring below it, which would be Sloth, explaining the waterfalls coming from its sky, but in a much more uniform pattern than the rain-like waterfall we see in the Lust Ring. With the rings being stacked on top of each other physically, it makes sense that the water supply would constantly be moving downward and finding small places to begin leaking into the lower rings. So far, the rings all seem to have their own industry in some way built around the local species. Wrath has farming with its imps, the Gluttony Ring is largely used to sell off hellhounds as servants, the Greed Ring exists to extract as much wealth as it can through loan sharks, Lust is one giant nightclub with its succubus, and Sloth owns the pharmaceutical industry of Hell and really seems to own the entire medical field. Envy's theme so far has been social media, something alluded to with Blitz's phone apps that each tie into a different ring of Hell's prince and their business. For Envy, we got an app literally titled with the letters N and V, with a TikTok and Instagram sort of vibe coming from it. Interestingly, the logo shows a shattered face with different emotions on each side, really emphasizing the mind-fracturing experience that social media has become. Now, one thing I've noticed is that there seems to be poorer conditions in the higher rings of Hell and downright luxurious conditions in the lower rings of Hell, such as Sloth. Now, we haven't seen every part of every ring, so we may find out that Sloth has even more slums than any other ring of Hell, but so far it would appear that the native species of higher rings like imps and hellhounds found themselves easily exploited. But that exploitation allows the lower rings to maintain a higher quality standard of living. The succubus may be exploited as well, but they get to do so with a sense of extravagance. Just below Lust would of course be the Envy ring, which I imagine serves as a sort of economic barrier to what looks like a pretty high-class Sloth ring. In the Sloth Ring, Blitz is joined in the waiting room by the deep-sea Karen and her child, the two being a parody of a suburban mom and her uncontrollable kid, hence why he is wearing a child leash. This Karen had a sense of entitlement about her, an oddly high one for someone who looks like they are just a stay-at-home mom. But of course, in today's culture, being a stay-at-home mom is a luxury most cannot afford. Being just barely middle class has become some sort of new elitism, reflected in the entitled Karen personae we see here. If the Envy ring really is entirely an ocean, it would give the deep sea demons an isolated home that can't really be invaded easily by the other species of Hell. Even the sharks of the Greed Ring may struggle to survive in the darker depths of the sea in the purple Envy ring, making it a place that only deep sea demons can thrive, despite them also being able to go up to land and to the other rings. This would allow for them to create an upper middle class lifestyle that literally could not be penetrated by any outside culture, because only deep sea demons could survive here. This bubble of luxury that the rest of Hell could not see for themselves would make the deep sea demons not just feel superior, but also make the other demons feel like their lives are interesting and mysterious. Social media, and before that magazines, would be the way that the citizens of Hell would live vicariously through the deep sea envy demons. This would be the one part of Hell they'd struggle to see for themselves and would fall in love with the influencers and celebrity figures sharing their lifestyles in this isolated and nicer part of Hell, one that may just barely be better than the poorer rings of Hell. TikTok itself was famous for pushing videos specifically of the upper middle class lifestyle, as opposed to lower class or even higher class, as it shined a light on a very different way of life for the lower classes, making them idolize what was once a more common way of life, turning those who still have it into celebrity figures, sharing how extravagant their lives are by comparison, even if they're not really rich. Leviathan, the Prince of Envy, is often associated with the deep-sea monsters of primordial chaos that existed before creator gods in various mythologies are said to have destroyed them and brought in order. Because of this, I believe Leviathan may be related to the Cthulhu-inspired demons in the Helluverse, particularly the Von Eldridge family and Hazbin Hotel. These demons were said to have risen to power after the Royals of Hell were already established, and we get even more Cthulhu influence with the meteor shower called Azathoth's Tears that Stolas describes as being the primordial desire to exist that never came to be. Power in Hell is complex, but it seems that in Hell there is a sort of rising darkness coming up after all these royals had established themselves, but stemming from a more ancient chaotic source, with Leviathan perhaps being linked to that source as well. The 7 princes of Hell, like most demons, are considered to be fallen angels in real life, but so far the only confirmed fallen angel in the show is Lucifer, and technically Charlie by her lineage. Some of the other princes may be fallen angels too, but some or even all of the other princes may end up being native demons to Hell who just have more power than the lower level species like imps and hellhounds. Leviathan thus could stem from a different source from the other princes entirely, and perhaps is biding his time to eventually unleash some sort of surreal demonic horror on Hell and claim it as his own someday. Perhaps the reason he takes on the sin of envy is not because everyone else envies the Envy Ring residents, but because he envies the other rulers of Hell that are above him, particularly Lucifer. Mammon also seems to be out for himself with no real allegiance to Lucifer and seems happy to milk all of Hell for money without worry of how it will affect even the higher-ups, so it's not hard to imagine that Leviathan might be playing a long game to eventually rule all of Hell and perhaps all of creation. If the Von Eldridge family is tied to Leviathan, they may be cozying up to Lucifer in the Pride Ring as family friends with the intent of one day using their power to take over the throne, something that should be impossible with Lucifer's seraphim angelic powers that give him dominion over all of Hell, but who knows what wild Lovecraftian plans the writers may have for Leviathan and the Von Eldridge family. Let me know your thoughts and theories in the comments down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for even more Helluva theories and lore coming, and I'll see you guys then.